The world collectively froze as urgent reports poured in from Eastern Europe. Belarus, long known as Moscow's loyal satellite but a reluctant participant, has finally crossed a line that many feared. Acting under direct orders from President Alexander Lukashenko, Belarusian troops have officially entered the Ukrainian battlefield. What began as a localized struggle between Russia and Ukraine has now escalated into something far more dangerous, a conflict with global repercussions. For months, Belarus hovered on the edge, its territory serving as a launchpad for Russian troops and missiles, its leadership echoing Moscow's rhetoric while avoiding direct combat. But that restraint has vanished. Verified satellite data, intercepted communications, and NATO surveillance confirm that Belarusian armored formations have crossed into northern Ukraine, striking near the border towns of Chernihiv and Rivne. The news stunned global military observers. Only weeks ago, Lukashenko had insisted that Belarus would not join the war unless attacked. Yet pressure had been building behind the scenes. As Russia's front lines crumbled in the south and east, and Ukrainian drones targeted Moscow itself, the Kremlin needed a distraction, a new front to stretch Kyiv's defenses. Lukashenko has now delivered. Belarusian mechanized columns, bolstered by Russian logistics, began moving under the guise of joint drills. Within 2 days, those exercises morphed into a full-scale incursion. The Belarusian Air Force launched sorties on Ukrainian radar facilities and ammunition depots. Drones carrying Belarusian insignia were sighted over Volyn and Zhytomyr. What was once a two-sided war now has a third participant, and with it, a perilous new layer of complexity. So what compelled Lukashenko to finally act? Analysts point to 3 primary motivations. First, Kremlin coercion. Since the beginning of the invasion, Belarus has been dependent on Russia for economic aid, discounted fuel, and political lifelines. Lukashenko's power structure is entangled with Putin's network. When Russia's situation worsened, sources suggest Putin summoned him to Moscow for a consultation, which Western intelligence now believes was an ultimatum: either send troops or face regime consequences. Second, internal weakness. Since the mass protests of 2020, Lukashenko's control over the country has eroded. Opposition networks, small acts of military defiance, and silent dissent persist. A Russian defeat would embolden these movements and threaten his rule. By entering the war, Lukashenko aims to tighten Moscow's protection while crushing opposition under martial law disguised as national defense. Third, geopolitical delusion. As NATO forces increased activity along Belarus's western borders, Lukashenko may believe early intervention strengthens his relevance, that aligning completely with Russia could cement Belarus as a regional power broker, or at least secure its survival as Moscow's vassal. But this gamble could cost him everything.
Ukraine reacted immediately. President Volodymyr Zelensky vowed to defend every meter of Ukrainian soil, no matter whose flag approached. Ukrainian air defenses shot down multiple Belarusian drones, while counter-artillery units struck back across the frontier. Within 24 hours, 2 Belarusian armored vehicles were destroyed, and several soldiers captured. Released footage showed Belarusian troops moving hesitantly, their formations disorganized. Signs of low morale. Many were inexperienced conscripts, trained for guard duty, not war. Reports even suggest refusals to advance, followed by arrests and tribunals within Belarusian ranks.
Meanwhile, NATO scrambled to high alert. The alliance viewed Belarus's entry as a direct escalation, transforming the war's geometry. Poland mobilized divisions along its eastern frontier. Lithuania and Latvia activated rapid response units. The U.S. intensified ISR missions over the region. A senior NATO official warned,
"If Belarus continues its offensive operations, we will treat it as a co-belligerent, and all consequences will follow."
Those consequences carry heavy implications: sweeping sanctions, cyber offensives, and potentially NATO deployments along Ukraine's northern front. But the most unpredictable piece remains Lukashenko himself. Known for his erratic pivots and survival tactics, he's now teetering on a knife's edge. For years, he balanced east and west, bargaining threats for concessions, pretending neutrality while quietly enabling Russia's war machine. That balancing act is over. The European Union has already unveiled a sanctions package targeting Belarusian banks, aviation, and industries. The United States followed, freezing assets linked to Lukashenko's circle. Inside Belarus, anxiety has erupted. Videos from Telegram show young men crowding border posts, trying to escape before a general mobilization. Mothers sob outside recruitment centers, begging officials not to take their sons into Putin's war.
Exiled opposition leader Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya, speaking from Lithuania, condemned the decision. Lukashenko has doomed Belarus. This is not our war. This is his desperation.
But in Minsk, Lukashenko paints a defiant image. In a fiery national broadcast, he declared, "Belarus will not be intimidated. We are protecting our people, our sovereignty, and our alliance with Russia. Those threatening us from the West should remember, our patience is not eternal."
Behind him, the Belarusian and Russian flags stood side by side, a symbolic confirmation that Belarus's independence has effectively ended. Military analysts now forecast three possible outcomes. Scenario 1. Limited involvement. Belarus confines operations to small diversionary raids across Ukraine's northern border, forcing Kyiv to redeploy units from Donbass and Kharkiv. This would offer Russia temporary breathing space, but no decisive advantage. Scenario 2. Full commitment. Belarus joins a coordinated Russian offensive toward Kyiv from the north, mirroring the 2022 invasion pattern. Yet the odds of success are low. Ukraine's defenses are hardened, its troops battle-tested, and NATO's intelligence support makes surprise impossible. Scenario 3. Internal collapse. If casualties spike or soldiers mutiny, Lukashenko's regime could unravel. Moscow would not allow chaos. Russian special forces would intervene, turning Belarus into a de facto Russian protectorate. Regardless of which path unfolds, one truth stands: the balance of power in Eastern Europe has shifted again. On the global stage, Belarus grows increasingly isolated. Even China has issued a carefully worded call for restraint, signaling Beijing's unease with Minsk's escalation. At the United Nations, diplomats prepare for an emergency session, though Russia's veto will likely block any action. For Ukraine, this is both danger and opportunity. While a new northern threat stretches its forces, Kyiv sees a chance to exploit Belarus's weakness. Ukrainian strategists believe sustained defense, psychological operations, and targeted outreach to Belarusian soldiers could fracture enemy morale. Early reports suggest several Belarusian officers have already contacted Ukrainian intelligence, voicing dissent and unwillingness to fight. On the battlefield, the conflict's geography is expanding rapidly. Ukrainian drones have reportedly struck deep inside Belarus, hitting fuel depots near Lunanets and radar arrays outside Baranovichi. Kyiv hasn't claimed responsibility, but the message is unmistakable. Belarusian soil is now part of the war zone. Belarus's sudden plunge into this conflict isn't just another regional twist, it's a strategic earthquake. The entry of a new actor reshapes logistics, alliances, and the balance of deterrence across Europe. What began as Putin's invasion of Ukraine now risks engulfing the entire security order of the continent. And at the heart of it all stands Alexander Lukashenko, a man wagering his nation's survival on a war he can neither win nor control. As night descends over Eastern Europe, the skies above Belarus flicker with drone lights and the constant hum of reconnaissance aircraft. The battlefield has widened, and so has the uncertainty. The next move could redefine the future of Europe itself.